another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host Avik, and today we are diving into one of the most, I would say, transformative, but yet rarely talked about the chapters of life, that sacred threshold between what was and what's next. So please welcome our guest, Kyra Faison Gardner. Welcome to the show, Kyra.
Hi, good morning, Avik. Thank you so much for having me on.
Good morning to you, and it's really an honor to have you here today. And before we delve deep into the discussion, I'd quickly love to introduce you to all the listeners. So, dear listeners, Kaya is a certified transformational life and retirement coach, an author, and the founder of Prospect and Refuge Life. So, after her 20 years as a founder and CEO, Kyra knows that what professional success looks like. But she also knows that success doesn't always mean satisfaction. Yeah. So her story is one of the evolution, like from rebuilding after a devastating house fire to rediscovering the creativity, self trust, and the courage to live her second and the third acts with meaning. So Kyra calls this process as threshold alchemy, the art of turning life's transitions into transformation. So, through her book, Who Do You Think You Are? And her work with women navigating midlife shifts, she's rewriting the narrative that says dreams have an expiration date. Yeah. So, right away, dear listeners, Kyra, welcome to the Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. It's really an honor to share the space with you here today.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to actually have an opportunity to share a little bit of my story and hopefully to maybe give some other listeners a little inspiration to move forward towards their dreams. But although the focus of my work is with women, specifically women heading into their second and third acts, wiser, older, elder women, I
Mm.
believe that, there's something for us all in looking at how we can alchemize thresholds. Thresholds are really just transition periods in our lives, and we all go through them from the time we're born. Um,
Yeah,
right? We don't have much control when we are younger, when we're children, we just face them. We have, we head into different grades. Our parents maybe put us in sports. We learn piano. We're constantly transitioning. Our bodies are transitioning. Especially with school, we can mark it with children, from first grade to third to high school. We can see it. But as we turn into adults, I think we become less aware of how we can mindfully face a
yeah,
transition, right? And make a choice.
correct. Very true. Very, very true. Yep. So, I'd love to ask you that was there a particular event or maybe the moment that brought that realization into focus for you, that uh, where you knew that something deeper needed to shift? So, yeah.
Oh, love that question. I love that question. You know, when I first started working on my book, it's a memoir. I really
Mhm.
was focusing on, we had had a devastating house fire. It's about
Right.
18 years now, and we lost pets, and my husband, myself, and our three children basically got out with just in our pajamas, and we lost everything. And I would have thought that that was the time, that was the shift. And I realized through writing my memoir that that wasn't really the shift. That happened and there was a transition, but it was not a mindful one. I actually went into almost 10 years of this quiet, foggy depression, I would say. And it wasn't until about 7 years ago, six and a half, the birth of my granddaughter. I was fortunate to be in the delivery room with my daughter and son in law. And this baby, when she was born, I had what I would say is really a spiritual experience. And it drew me out of that gray space I had been in. And I felt all of a sudden like I had this mission in life and that I'd had it all along. I just was blind to it, the going through the paces like we all do, right? Heading off to work, maybe doing a workout, walking the dog. We have all these activities that we do in our lives, and we do them sometimes without even thinking about our life, without making space to feel or to, even explore our feelings, our passions, our desires for what we would like in life, or maybe what we're being called towards. We're so busy that we forget how to just be with ourselves and make room, make room for curiosity and choice, right? We don't even realize how many choices we have because we just do all the time without, being mindful about it.
Totally understand. And like, if I have to say this, that first of all, I would love to say that so many of us chase that checklist of success, but
Mhm.
only to find ourselves feeling disconnected once we have arrived. Like, I love like how you frame that realization not as a kind of failure, but as a uh, call to awaken. So
Mhm.
The concept of threshold alchemy is really the beautiful one. It captures both the uncertainty and the possibility of the transformation. So, if you can share that what threshold alchemy means and how it applies to those moments in life where uh, we are forced to pivot or maybe reinvent ourselves.
Mm, that's a beautiful question. Well, alchemy in general is the, transformation of one material, one substance
Mm.
into something more valuable. That's the general not the scientific explanation,
Yeah.
general concept of how alchemy came about it, which, the transformation of lead into gold. And that's how I look at us. We start with something. And when we go through transformations, life transformations, especially as we get older, we tend to worry that we will be devalued, that the knowledge and the wisdom we've acquired across a lifetime, whether it's in careers or heading up a family or volunteer work, whatever it is, the knowledge and who we are that we've become across a lifetime, we fear that it will become devalued because we're getting older. And unfortunately, in a lot of society, especially with the rise of technology, um, not only do elders become devalued, but we begin to devalue ourselves. And that I loved about the concept of threshold alchemy. So again, while the focus of my work was originally on women in midlife, because that was that was my point of reference. I really have expanded it over time, and I'm happy to say that I work with more men who recognize that retirement is not the end. You are not your career, you are not your title, you are so much more. And it's a beautiful invitation, really, from life to finally expand, right? To take off the shackles and the tether and the heaviness of all that certain roles bring to you, and to really embrace maybe what's calling to you. Maybe things you've been curious about your entire life. It's a great opportunity for that.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, so also I'd say and in your experience, like coaching women through these seasons, what do you think makes the difference between resisting the threshold and also transforming through it?
Hmm. I wish that I could name one magic thing, but I
Okay.
believe it's a combination. And some of these things we can control, and some, we can't. So if we start with, or I focus on the things we can control, because I think that is more beneficial. Um, I think it starts well, I would love it to start earlier, but it starts whenever we can become aware of it. And that is expanding our concept of who we are as people. Not being so attached to one role. Again, if you put all of your energy into being the absolute best wife and your husband
Okay.
leaves you, or
Hmm.
the absolute best mother you can possibly be, you have no interest.
Yeah.
Focus on your children. And the children do what you want them to do, which is grow up, be happy and successful, and begin lives of their own. You're kind of left.
Mm.
If you stop taking courses or learning things,
Mm.
spending time with friends,
Yeah.
um, you can be very alone. So that's
Exactly.
one part, and I think what attaches to that is having a
Mm.
supportive community, having a group, either a group of friends or a cohort or a coaching circle, where you are not only seen for who you are authentically, right? Not who you were 20 years ago, not the cheerleader, not the mom with the new baby, not so and so's wife, but as an individual, all of us, we are individuals first. If you can have a supportive community that recognizes you for who you are and then also offers you support for your dreams, I think that's one of the biggest um, differences that going through life transitions can make. And it's for men as well. Have people that will support your dreams that don't try to pull you down or say, oh, that doesn't make sense. Oh, that's not practical. If you want to write a book, if you want to travel to Europe and take pictures, no matter what you want to do, you really want people that can appreciate you for who you are, your authentic self, and that can offer you support for who you're becoming, because we're always becoming.
So I really love is that we are always becoming. So this is a very important message, I would say. And when it's so powerful, like you are describing, what you are describing almost feels like a kind of spiritual chemistry, like where
Mm.
pressure, loss, sternness can actually refine like who we are becoming. So it's such a hopeful lens for the change, definitely.
I love that you said that. I will
Yeah.
share with you um, that as I have gone on this path, right, really
Yeah.
open myself up to what I see as a journey
Mm.
with an end destination ever. It's really about the journey. That's my focus. I have become deeply spiritual. I've embraced a kind of mysticism that brings me closer to
And
what I believe is the beloved. Um, we all have different names for things, and I think that's something else that's important as you embrace a journey of transformation. You don't have to name everything. Different people, different cultures at different times in your life, different groups you're in, they will have names for things that maybe you see it differently. It doesn't mean that you're not embracing the same thing, if that makes sense. I don't know if that was clear, but, um, you know
makes
what
sense, definitely. Yeah.
okay. It's
And yeah, please, you're saying something.
No, I was just gonna say, it really is this it's about creating a sacred space within yourself. If
Yes.
if I shared one big thing, it would be that.
Mm.
It'd be we each have the ability to create something sacred within ourselves, a
Yeah.
vision, a life, a connection to something
Mm.
deeper and bigger than ourselves. And when we allow ourselves to do that and to
Mm.
have more satisfaction in our lives, not only is our life better, but the
Yeah.
people that we share life with, their life becomes better. And just by how you're living and the grace you show yourself, you invite other people to, into that as well. In community with you and in community with themselves. So I think society as a whole benefits when we can give ourselves a little more grace and embrace these transformations instead of fighting them, because you can't. Everything
Mm.
changes, it's always changing. So why not give yourself grace and just soften into the process and allow yourself to dream a little bigger. Allow yourselves to let more love and light into your life. And that looks different for each of us. But if we're showing ourselves grace, we can show other people grace.
Um, Very truly said, yes. And your book journey itself is a powerful story. I mean, from prospect and Fiji to your upcoming release. Who do you think you are? Uh, you have said that the first version was a story half told. So, what changed in you between writing that first book and revisiting it later?
Oh, I appreciate the question. I it's something I wrestled with for a long time. I
Okay.
wrote I that book has many, journal quotes from after the fire. I included a lot of the original version.
Mm,
Prospect and Refuge, Rebuilding a Life was the original title. And I wrote that book while I had just finished therapy. I was working with a coach on building my new business. And that book was kind of a product of where I was in life, which was still processing the trauma from the fire. I thought I was done with it. I thought I was past it. It was over. I'm moving on. And I wrote
yeah.
the book from that point. But when I revisited it, I realized, no, I wasn't over it. And I was still writing from a place of pain. It wasn't authentic. I offered a lot of hope in the book, but I wasn't being honest with myself, and I could not, in good faith, leave it up there on the shelf in the market, so I did take it down, and I've been working on it for, I guess the past 8 months, and it's going to be re-released this fall with a new title, which is "Who Do You Think You Are?" And that's because, much like the transitions we're discussing today, who we are is really based on who we think we are, not other people's assessment of us, not our job title, not our roles in life. Who we are is who we think we are. And who I think I am now is very different than who I thought I was then. And it keeps changing, and I make room for it. So I wanted the book to reflect the life I have now. I appreciate you mentioned yeah, I've been the CEO of a family business for over 20 years, and my husband is my business partner. Two of our children and my son-in-law work with us. I love that business. But in giving myself grace in this transformation, I went on to found another company 2 years ago, which is Prospect and Refuge Life. And that's where my coaching certifications come in and my intuitive mentoring and even some spiritual mentoring. So the new title really reflects the book better and reflects the mission of the book, which is to invite people invite people to look at their lives and decide who do they think they are? And is it
Yeah.
who you wanna be? That's the big question. Is it who you wanna be?
True, true, very true. So, like, and how do you balance that vulnerable process of writing about your healing while still protecting your peace?
Mm, wow. I think it's harder today than it's ever been because of the reach of social media, and it I still work with a coach. I'm in 2 different, groups. One is a writing cohort, and that
Mm.
helps me show up in that space with, more bravery when I'm sharing my work. I'm on Substack, and I share a lot of my spiritual work, and I share poetry and inspiration there, but I'm also in a coaching cohort of really brave women, and, that helps me find balance there. I can run ideas past them in a safe space and get feedback, and then I feel more confident, sharing them, sharing the ideas, starting programs, naming some of my, coaching workshops. Those 2 groups really help me feel more confident, to show up bravely in spaces like that. It's always a risk, right, Avik? I mean, even for you, right? You're doing something wonderful here, and you're giving people an opportunity to share their stories. That's brave. Um, and it's a work in progress, right? We have to take risks. We have to take risks for ourselves and for humanity.
Hmm. Very true. Yeah. So I mean, I would say I have to say that it's so relatable because the idea that our stories evolve as we do, it's kind of, I'd say, it's a reminder that healing is not a linear or maybe the performative, but it's an, as you mentioned, it's an ongoing conversations with ourselves. So definitely.
Yeah. That's, I think, one of the things that has made me happier as I've gotten older. You know, I think there can be this sense of dread. Oh, what am I going to do when I retire? What am I going to do when I don't have the title or the company car? What am I going to do, when life changes and I become irrelevant? Well, here's the thing. If you can have peace in yourself and allow yourself the grace along the way to be curious and open and join groups and read books and write books, and you know you don't come to that cliff, or at least you don't come to it as early as someone who just stops everything when their career or their role ends. It's life keeps inviting us. It invites us to come outside. It invites us into conversations. It invites us to pursue things that we're curious about. It's up to us to accept the invitation.
Correct. Exactly correct. And uh, also, I would love to ask, like, what the small or daily practices help you stay grounded in the joy, curiosity, and presence now? What do you say?
Well, if I just want to make sure I'm answering
Yeah.
the question correctly, but are you asking me about my practices to stay grounded and
Yeah. Yeah.
okay? So
Yes. Yes.
something that I do and that I work with, many clients with is the idea of integrating rituals into your life, not just routines. Now, a ritual can start as a routine, but one of my rituals, and I call it a ritual because I hold it in such high esteem that it has become sacred to me. So now it's a ritual and not just a routine. Every morning, my morning ritual is to sit in silence, watch the sunrise. I commune with the beloved. Some would say pray to God, whatever you call it, but I commune with the beloved. I open myself to receive, the blessings that are there for me in the day. I ask what's asked of me today. What can I bring to the world? That's how I start my day every day. That's my morning ritual. Sometimes I have pictures of the sunrise, or I go out and I feed the birds first thing when they're arriving with the sun. Um, and also when I come up to, I have a home office. I'm recording now from here. Um, and I do morning meditation. Usually it's 15 to 20 minutes. Before I start that, part of my ritual is I always take off my shoes before I come into my office. I usually anoint my hands and feet with a little bit of cedar and frankincense oil. Again, these are things for me to mark the sacredness of what I'm doing, what I'm bringing to the space and the practice. I put the oil on my feet to remind myself I wanna carry this feeling into the world when I go out today. So I put the oil on my feet. I light a candle and I sit. Uh, and I practice gratitude. Those are things that really help me. And one practical thing I'll share is that each evening as I get in bed, before I go to sleep, I spend just a few minutes writing down in a journal I keep by my bed, things that I'm grateful for. Little moments maybe that happen throughout the day, something I'm hopeful for. Um, and that's a ritual for me. But I believe it's also, from a practical standpoint, something that can help many people fall asleep easier, sleep more peacefully, to let these thoughts out of their head, and also to remind yourself that maybe even if you had a bad day, maybe it wasn't all bad.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, what advice would you give to someone today?
Oh, pressure. What pressure? Um, I think the most important piece of advice that I would share is that you have permission to be happy. You have permission to change your mind. You have permission to head in the direction of the person that you've maybe always wanted to be. You don't need anyone else to give you that permission. I'm saying the words to invite you to give it to yourself. You don't have to wait.
Exactly, exactly. So, I mean, that's such a life-giving perspective. Better liveness doesn't come from extremes, but from the awareness. So, it's in how we sip coffee, create something small, or simply listen to ourselves without rushing to fix. So, it's really amazing. And so, Kaya, this has been such a profound and soulful conversation, and you have given us a language for something many people feel but don't know how to name. That quiet hunger for meaning that often arises after years of striving. So, uh, to everyone who is listening, right, remember that your next chapter doesn't need permission, only participation. So, Kyra, if someone wants to connect with you, what would be the great medium to connect?
You can connect with me through, I would say my website is the easiest. It's
Yeah.
respectrefugelife.com.
Okay.
Through I'm on Substack as well if you'd like to read a poem or a blessing, and that's Seeking Prospect and Refuge on.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. So I'll put, dear listeners, I'll put all the links into the show notes for your easy reference. And with this hope, this is your host Avik, and this is a Divine Healthy Life. Until next time, live deeply, love bravely, and keep becoming. So thank you
You.
so much.
Thank you, Abby.